You did it. You'll be so proud. And it's on here, 52615 RP New. That was his dream, and it was taken away because
Charles Omenihu isn't in the best situation right now. He was recently arrested on a domestic violence charge. Let's begin with the obvious question, what exactly happened? According to the Bay Area News Group, Charles Omenihu, a defensive lineman for the San Francisco 49ers, was arrested recently. He was charged with misdemeanor domestic violence. On the 23rd of January at 4:39 p.m., police in San Jose were called to Omenihu's house after someone said there had been domestic violence there. A woman who said she was Omenihu's girlfriend told police that the 25-year-old pushed her to the ground during an argument. Omenihu was arrested and taken to the Santa Clara County Jail, where he was put on record. He was eventually released on bail, though. Officers did not see any obvious injuries on the survivor, but she did say her arm hurt. The survivor turned down medical help while the police were looking into what happened.
understanding how different guys get to block you. Because, I mean, on the outside, the blocks are very simple, so you just know. Inside, it could be a little bit different. And then depending on the guy, it can be set up differently at how he's going to.
After Charles Omenihu was arrested, the 49ers sent a statement to Salonga and Inman. It said that they were aware of the situation with Charles Omenihu and were in the process of getting more information. Authorities said that the results of the ongoing investigation will be given to the Santa Clara County District Attorney's Office so the charges can be considered. Other than that, no more information was given. Now, since Omenihu is not in jail and the alleged crime is a misdemeanor, there's no strict deadline for filing charges. Getting charged with domestic violence is already a pretty bad thing, but the fact that this development came around the time of some important matches has probably thrown Omenihu and his team off a bit.
You come across almost like a track stance, and then you have a 16 step to the crotch of the offensive tackle. As I got older in the game, some guys line up straight ahead, but to take on blocks a little bit better.
In fact, this case happened before the 49ers NFC Championship game in Philadelphia, which, by the way, was supposed to happen on January 29th, and they needed to win to make it to the Super Bowl. Even though Omenihu hurt his oblique during the divisional round playoff game against the Dallas Cowboys, he was expected to play. Kyle Shanahan, the head coach, said that he would be listed as day-to-day. Shanahan also said that Omenihu would still be playing in Sunday's NFC Championship game as long as he was healthy. This did throw some people off, though. This is because it seemed like the coach only cared about the game and not about the seriousness of the situation. Apparently, during this entire time, the team decided to let the legal process take care of itself. Shanahan said that they had been looking into the case nonstop for 2 days after news broke out. Leaving the legal process to itself makes them feel very good. He also said that he didn't think it was time to kick Omenihu off the team. It looks like based on how valuable this player is to the team, they're not willing to part with him just yet. But what about the legality of it? The question is, would Charles's future in the sport be affected because of this charge? If you want to know how serious the situation is, keep in mind that the woman has apparently asked for an emergency protective order. This means Omenihu must stay away from her while it's in effect. What's more, he could be suspended in the future for his arrest under the NFL's personal conduct policy. The 49ers are not required to suspend the rotating edge defender, and it doesn't look like they want to, but this incident makes it unlikely that he'll be able to play in the NFC Championship game. The 49ers got Omenihu from the Texans before the trade deadline in 2021, which is obviously pretty recent. They gave the Texans a 6th-round pick in 2023 in exchange for the former 5th-round pick. The former Texas Longhorns player has been a steady sub for San Francisco and has gotten 4.5 sacks so far this season. Omenihu left the 49ers divisional playoff game early because he hurt his oblique. He had 2 sacks in their wildcard win over the Seahawks and 1.5 in their wildcard win in Dallas last year. So what I'm wondering is whether his team will be ready to let him go.
They're from here, but there's a lot more to do in Texas than here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Elaborate on that. What'd you like to do in Texas that is different here in NorCal?
NorCal is just more chill. Like, Texas has a little bit more of a spread wide culture.
Oh, you also have to consider the fact that when it comes to incidents like these, the NFL doesn't really do a good job of dealing with them. It always seems like the NFL picks and chooses who to punish. People have talked about how the NFL handles allegations of violence against women for years, usually focusing on the short-term punishments the teams or the league did or didn't give to certain players. But a recent study looked at this issue in more depth and asked, do arrests for violence against women hurt the careers of NFL players? According to a study that was reviewed by experts called Violence Against Women, the answer is not really. Based on statistical analysis of how players' careers turned out, the study found that these kinds of arrests have negligible effects on players as a whole. Over the 19-year period that was looked at, the effect of arrests got worse and worse, but that effect went away with even average or slightly below average on-field performance. Daniel Salofsky, who wrote the study, said he expected that the high-performing players would be exempt from some of these consequences of an allegation. But it seems like even the top 75% of players, on average, didn't see much of an effect from their accusation. According to the study, teams may be more likely to cut ties with or make an example out of a lower-performing player, whose dismissal is more likely anyway and costs the team less than a star or even a middle-of-the-roster player. It's not like there haven't been players who weren't punished for these charges in the past, because they were, but something always seemed fishy when it came to cases like these, because at the end of the day, it seemed like more of a show than an actual punishment for the player.
We start with a second and short. Hand off McCaffrey, right up the gut for a first down inside the 35. Now what about the starter?
Is there more magic now with your fourth string quarterback?
In the same study I just talked about, Salofsky looked at a time period that included Ray Rice's 2014 domestic violence case. Because of how the league handled the case, the NFL had to rewrite its personal conduct policy, increasing the base suspension for certain violations, and making it clear that a player can be punished even if the alleged behavior doesn't lead to a criminal conviction. The league also set up its own investigations department and made preventive education required for all players. And as a result of these findings, Rice never played again after a video of him hitting his fiancée Janae Palmer in an elevator went viral. But then this study also suggests that the incident may not have been as big a turning point as some people say it was. The model he used for his study was made to take into account all of the other things that can affect an athlete's career. For Rice, this meant that he played less well in a position that is losing value in the NFL today.
So it just feels good, man. It goes to show that you did something special for the community while you was there, and those people appreciate it.
Now, we saw you playing in some games last year. I think the fans want to know what's up for you next year. Will we see you back in the NFL next year?
Then we also have Adrian Peterson, who was charged with felony child abuse while still playing for the Minnesota Vikings in 2014. Then earlier last year, he was also arrested at Los Angeles International Airport for hitting his wife in an airplane before takeoff. Peterson was released from jail later that day after paying a $500,000 bond. But his wife later denied that her husband had hurt her physically, so the domestic violence charges were dropped. That's it for the 49ers DL Charles Omenihu getting arrested on a domestic violence charge. See you in the next one.